Thanks so much for joining us today, everyone. My name is Nora. I'm a part of the program team here at the Princeton Public Library, and we are thrilled that you have joined us for the current economy and future projections. A couple of quick housekeeping things before we get started. We are recording this program. We hope that you will keep an eye out for it and feel free to revisit it or share it following the program. We have both the chat feature and the Q&A box open, so we hope you will, as you have questions or thoughts, please feel free to add them to either place, whichever you feel more comfortable with. If you joined us a little early, we had a survey on the screen that'll come up again in the presentation. If you did not yet get a chance to fill that out, the question is to ask what your perception of the economy is right now. So we hope that you will take a sec. It's a very quick survey just to get a little temperature check on our attendees for tonight. And we are extremely glad to have with us today Dr. Nicol Nicola, who is the Director of Economic and Demographic Research, or EDR, at the New Jersey Department of Labor and Workforce Development. She leads a team of approximately 50 economists, analysts, and survey specialists. Under her leadership, EDR collects, analyzes, and disseminates vital data on employers, employees, wages, occupations, and population demographics to inform policymakers, businesses, nonprofits, and researchers nationwide. EDR also conducts fiscal impact analyses on various policy initiatives. She's also an adjunct professor at the College of New Jersey, where she teaches business statistics to undergrads. She's a dedicated mentor and leads a leadership training program focused on helping participants refine their management style, leadership strategies, and team engagement skills. Her expertise and leadership extend across several national boards and committees where she contributes to advancing labor market research and workforce development. And that is not even all of the things. I had to trim down her very impressive CV only so that we could get going tonight. But she really is doing excellent work out there across wonderful fields. And we're so glad to have you with us. Thank you, Dr. Nicola, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Nora. Thank you for having me. I'm so delighted to be here with everybody and tell you a little bit about who we are and why we're here and the presentation. I'm going to put it in presentation mode. I'm also going to try to watch the chat if you have any comments, or please feel free to come here and just bring it to my attention and bring your question. I hope everybody can see my screen. The title of my presentation is The Current Economy and Future Projections. Specifically, we're looking on employment projections. We do have a robust agenda for you today. I'll talk a little bit about who are we. Since Nora talked a little bit about us, I'm going to condense it and move on to the survey, where it allows us to see, what do you think about the economy? What is your sentiment about the economy? And then I'll try to look at it and tell you what I'm seeing either during my presentation, or if I get done, maybe I'll share some of the results today or later. Nora can share it in an email. We'll talk about current economic conditions and what we're seeing based on the latest available data. We'll talk about job postings, and part of that is we'll look at AI job postings. And job postings are important because they tell us about what employers are looking for in terms of skills and occupations. And then we'll end on key takeaways. The last, and I missed one. And we'll do occupational projections, then I'll do key takeaways. And then the last three is just talk a little bit about our office, our publications, how to join our mailing list, and then just get your feedback about this presentation. So a little bit about who are we. We're part of the New Jersey Department of Labor under the Office of Research and Information, my division. As Nora said, we collect data and then we go around the country and say, okay, we have economic data or employer data. What type of decisions can we make with the information we have? To give you a few examples, suppose you are a business and want to open a facility in Mercer County. We can help you look at various indicators like labor costs. Suppose you are a job seeker and looking to see what type of job postings employers or what type of occupations employers are posting right now. We can provide that information just to give you a little bit of a few examples of the stuff we do. The way I like to describe us, think of us as a barista of data. You go to a coffee shop to customize your drink, you could come to us and we customize your data based on a project or initiative you're working on. So we've mentioned the survey. If you would like to participate, it's called What's Your Perception of the Economy? So the way to do it is if you take your phone and you open the camera and you take and put the camera on the QR code, you could go to the survey. It's 10 questions, all optional, that you can participate so we can learn about your sentiment when it comes to the economy. We also put the link in the survey, in the chat for you if you would like to take it that way. I'll give you a minute to take the survey. I'll pause a little bit and then I'll come back. I'll look at the responses and what we're getting. And then during my presentation, I'll refer to some of your responses and what we're seeing in terms of economic data and labor market information. So I'm just going to pause for a little bit. And just to let you know that the last question asks you if you want to join our mailing list. We do not bombard people with emails. We send typically 1 or 2 emails a month highlighting an industry, employees, demographics, and I'll show you some examples at the end of this presentation. So I'm looking at some of the responses we're getting, like, please describe the economy using 1 word. Inequality, unpredictable, are some of the words I'm getting. Somewhat weak when we ask, how would you describe the current state of the economy? People who have participated thus far selected somewhat weak. I'll give 30 seconds more and then I'll move on to the next slide, but I'm looking at your responses. One of the questions we ask is rank the economic issues economists are most focused on today, and technological change and AI is now number 2. Inflation and price stability is number 1 as we get more responses, and labor market is 3rd. Interest rates and monetary policy is 4th, and the last one is immigration. Okay, well, thank you. Please continue to take the survey and finish it either now or at a later time. I'll continue to look at the results and tell you what I see and then go over the presentation here. So please feel free to ask questions. You can come and talk or you can put it in the chat. So let's start talking about the labor market in New Jersey. The first figure we have is non-farm employment in New Jersey. We covered the time from January 2007 to September 2025. Let me describe the figure before we start talking about it. On the y-axis, we have non-farm employment in thousands. All the charts we look at look like this. The y-axis will have the indicator. The x-axis will have the time that we cover, and here we cover from January 2007 to September 2025. The gray bars you see, they show us a recession. So a recession happened, we put a gray bar. And to cover the recent recession, the pandemic recession, in February 2020, we had 4.2 million jobs in New Jersey. The pandemic hit, and we lose over 700,000 jobs. What happens after was unprecedented, where the federal government allocated over $5 trillion to governments, businesses, and consumers. So we got so much money and we started spending, and you could see the orange line, which shows us the employment for New Jersey, rebounded from 3.5 million all the way to right now we're at 4.4 million, which currently we're about 180,000 jobs above February 2020. And in the past couple of years, we have been stable. We add a little bit, we lose a little bit in terms of the number of jobs, but overall, we have been around 4.4 million. But the idea that we get so much money, we started spending not only on services, we moved also to goods. Think of sports equipment. So we spent, and businesses in response to that had to hire, not only hired, they hoarded during the pandemic. Now we're in an area where companies are not hiring as much, they're not firing as much. So there's a little bit of stability at the moment. To go on to the next chart, here we want to show you year over year non-farm employment change in New Jersey, and we cover prior to the pandemic and currently. So we cover January 2018 to September 2025. And what you could see is if we want to look at what's happening now versus the pre-pandemic levels, which we highlight in the red boxes, you could see right now our growth is similar to what we have seen in 2018 and 2019, which is something economists have been expecting, that we will return to normalization in 2023, but it didn't happen until the past kind of year and a half, couple of years. We started seeing that our growth is similar to pre-pandemic levels, because now we're coming down from that sugar high of having so much money and spending so much money to now we're going to more of a normal time where we grow at levels similar to what we've seen prior to the pandemic. The next chart we share with you is the unemployment rate, and we cover from January 2007 to September 2025. New Jersey is highlighted in orange, and now we add the United States, which is highlighted in blue. And just to show you, typically the line for New Jersey, which is highlighted in orange, goes kind of aligned with the US overall. We tend to have a higher unemployment rate. Our unemployment rate, the historical average, is around 6%. And I've seen when we ask the question, let me just go to the question because I see we're getting more responses. We have a question is, how would you rate the current unemployment rate, which currently is at 5.2% in the state, and 60%, actually, if I add them all together, 90% say somewhat high, very high, actually 80%, excuse me. And the last one is not sure. So somewhat high and very high is 80%. So to put this in a historical perspective, New Jersey's average is 6%. It has been increasing, and just to show you what I mean, in August 2022, we were around 3%. That was the lowest, and it has been increasing, and now it's at 5.2%. It's below our historical average. We like to be between 4 to 5% in New Jersey because that's the healthy unemployment rate. But anything that goes above that, we start seeing kind of a yellow flag. You know, we're not at the red territory, but it is in the area that it's acceptable for New Jersey. Where the US is lower, it just came out yesterday, the unemployment rate for November is 4.6%, which is above the Federal Reserve target of around 4% and maybe around 4.4%. So it's a little bit higher than what they would like to see. But part of the reason why New Jersey has a higher unemployment rate is because we have a higher labor force participation rate. And we do the same thing here. We cover the time January 2007 to September 2025. And again, we highlight New Jersey in orange and the US in blue. And you could see that we have a higher rate. More people are participating in our labor market than the US. Currently, the rate in New Jersey is 63.5%, and the US is 62.4%. It's the same time we're covering for September 2025. With that being said, the rate for New Jersey and the US, but for New Jersey, it's been declining, and that could be due to various reasons. Think about we're aging and we're retiring and we're not having enough kids. And typically we fill that gap with immigrants. So now that immigration policies are changing, that could be impacting what we're seeing in New Jersey, given that out of 9.5 million people who live in New Jersey, over 2 million are foreign born. So various things could be impacting our labor force participation. Another thing to think about is work from home policies, where I was able to work from home and care for a family or a friend. And now we have changes in work from home policies, and that could have not allowed me to stay in the labor force. As a result, I had to leave if I can't care for my family and work from home at the same time. So various things that could impact the labor force participation rate. Going on to the next figure, here we look at the ratio of unemployed residents per job openings. We cover the time from January 2020 to August 2025. And New Jersey again highlighted in orange, and the US is highlighted in blue. And what you could see is basically what we're saying is how many people are unemployed, and we would do a ratio for job openings. And we typically wanted to have more jobs and job openings than unemployed. But currently, we're around 1-to-1. If you look at the recent period, we highlighted one, like a period for you in the red box, we're 1-to-1, meaning that for every unemployed individual, there's one job openings, which tells us we're in balance. Of course, during the pandemic, that number was higher, meaning that we had more individuals who are unemployed versus job openings, but that rate goes down as we as consumers got money from the government to cope with the pandemic. We started spending, companies started posting jobs and hiring, but now we have 1-to-1. One job opening for each individual, and it's true for the U.S. and New Jersey. And Nora has been kind, dropping a few links in the chat. She dropped New Jersey's employment situation, which we just released last week. And we release employment indicators for New Jersey, and we do an infographic where we highlight the most important statistics. She also dropped the job openings and labor turnover that we do every month, which talks about the statistic that I'm sharing here with you. And also it's an infographic, and both are one page. We try to keep our things very concise and short, knowing that people are busy and might not be able to read a long report. To go on to the next thing, here's job postings on Indeed from October 2020 to October 2025, and we index the number to February 2020. And you could see that the trend has been declining, but we see stability in the job postings on Indeed. And I'll show you another data set from Lightcast that shows a similar trend. So what we're seeing is that the economy is stable, but we are starting to see some yellow flags where the unemployment rate is going up, but partly because we have a higher labor force participation rate. And we're seeing job growth in New Jersey. They're stable. We grow a little, we lose a little. So what does that mean in terms of the economy as a whole? And there are two schools of thought about the economy right now. And they give two different stories. One side, they say that the big, beautiful bill, tax cuts, lower interest rates, the Federal Reserve continues to lower the federal funds rate, which right now is at 3.5 to 3.75%. It would allow us, lower interest rates basically will allow us to access money at access money cheaply if interest rates go down. I just want to pause because I see a few people writing. Michael said, can you comment on salary comparison, higher paid versus lower paid, gain or loss ratio to the slide you just shared? Michael, can I have you come? Are you able to speak? Are you able to elaborate a little bit on your question?
Yes, yes. Good evening. How are you?
Good. How about you, Michael?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for you taking the time to do the presentation. I guess the question I'm asking is, we're saying the employment rate is stable or going down slightly, but the question I'm having, are we losing higher paid jobs and those jobs are being replaced by more lower paid jobs? Do you have information or data on that?
Yeah. I have to think from the job growth we have seen in New Jersey's labor market, we tend to be a diverse economy. Unlike, think of an economy that is maybe basically relies on one industry or two industries. We're diverse and we rely on many industries, which means we have many occupations as a result of that. Have I seen a shift from high paid jobs to low paid jobs in New Jersey? I haven't seen that. With that being said, I'm going to put it down as something we can look at and see if we can get more specific data on this. There is a portion in this presentation where I'll talk about job postings and what we see. And it's a mix in terms of high paying jobs and maybe I would say mid paying jobs, middle, kind of not low paying jobs. So it's a mix for us that we see. We haven't seen a departure of just hiring low paying jobs versus a high paying jobs. But this is something I can look further, and I'll give you my email at the end of this presentation if you don't mind emailing me, and I'm happy to follow up.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. And then we see another question from Sayan. Does the labor participation rate include the STEM opportunity candidates? Yes, it will include every person who's seeking a job or working right now. Okay. I'll continue to monitor the chat. Please keep putting your questions and comments in, and I'll bring them to light. Thank you again.
There is one more question in the Q&A box.
Oh.
Since we're still close to your earlier slides, the question was, is the current non-farm employment number similar to past 2025 projections if COVID had never happened? So pre-COVID projections for 2025.
I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I don't think so, because what happened during COVID was unusual. So COVID hit, not only that we lose jobs, but because of technology, we were able to cope very quickly and work from home, the majority of us, barring like healthcare workers that have to be in person, for example, or even like salons and massages and facials and people who have to interact with us face to face. A lot of us were able to work from home. But what was unusual about COVID is a lot of people moved from congested cities to the suburbs. And we saw movement from cities like New York City to New Jersey, which brought people to us. Maybe they will go work in New York City, or they'll stay here and work from home or take a job in New Jersey. So the pandemic not only helped us, I think, gain jobs, but also helped us gain residence, which was very unusual because typically migration happens based on family or a job, not based on a black swan event like the pandemic. Nora, anything else?
That's all for now. So we'll let you go forth, but everyone, as you have questions, feel free to either put them in that Q&A box or in the chat, and we will answer them as we go. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nora. So to go back to this slide, two schools of thought about the economy. One is a big, beautiful bill, tax cuts, lower interest rates that will allow us to access money at a cheaper rate, allows businesses and consumers, will stimulate the economy. On the other hand, there are economic uncertainty. Think of tariffs, which is tax on consumers and businesses, which will also impact inflation for a short period, and inflation has been sticky around 3%. Immigration policy, taking out economic agents from the economy, might impact the labor force supply, which CBO came out with a report saying that if this continues, it will impact population growth, and as a result, it will impact labor supply, which we as a country rely on immigrants. And as we've discussed, labor market dynamics have been softening. We're growing, but our unemployment rate is going up, and we're growing at a slower pace, which has been expected for a while. So there's a tension right now between inflation, which continues to be sticky around 3%, and labor market condition that is softening. And the Federal Reserve's mandate is to take these two indicators, have prices around 2% in terms of increase, and then having a stable and robust labor market. And now there's a tension between the two of them. So everybody's writing about what could happen, what would the Federal Reserve do next, which is a mystery to all of us because they're waiting for data to see what they can do, employment data and inflation data. But so far, there are two schools of thought that we might have. The big, beautiful bill, lower interest rates will stimulate the economy. On the other hand, there's so much uncertainty that could actually tip the economy into some type of soft landing or a recession or a soft recession. We don't know yet. Now, what's been happening as a result, because consumer spending continues, and the way many economists explain the current economy, it's called K-shaped economy. K-shaped economy basically breaks households into two parts. The first part is you have high income households. Typically, they make around $170,000, or some people put that $250,000 or more. So they are able to absorb the current economy, the current prices. Think of eggs, for example. Before the pandemic, eggs used to be maybe $2, $3 to $5, $6. Now, last time I was in the market, they were between $5 to over $10. So that's a significant number for a low-income household, which they struggle with this type of environment. They tend to live paycheck to paycheck and have small savings. Some surveys show that these savings are around $400 or even less. So if anything happens, like a health scare or the car breaks, low-income households struggle to cope with any changes in their budget, where high-income households are able to absorb these changes that we see currently and the high prices we are living in. So now we talked about the labor market, how we're seeing stability and we're seeing at the same time softening. Now we're going to talk about the job postings. And job postings are important because they signal to us what employers are looking for in terms of skills and occupations. What's important to note here that a job posting, it doesn't mean it will lead to hiring, because employers can post in many states. They can post to attract investors. They can post just to fill their pipeline. They can post and then lose funding, unfortunately. Then they will have to pull the job. So there's various reasons why a job postings doesn't mean that it will lead to a hiring. However, it's an important signal about what employers are looking for, again, in terms of skills and occupations. And just to show you what we mean, here is the total job postings in New Jersey, and the time we cover is 2018 to 2025. And the numbers are in thousands. So typically we have around a million jobs. Of course, during the pandemic in 2021 and 2022, the number went above 1 million, 1.2, 1.3 million respectively, but typically we're around a million. And a fun fact, 20% of job postings typically mention an AI-related skill. And I'll cover AI shortly, but typically we have a million job postings and we see a lot of stability in the past 3 years. The next thing we want to talk to you about is what type of occupations we show you. Now, there's a list of occupations. Typically, there could go to 800 occupations, but for today's purposes, we'll just show you the top occupations. But if anybody's interested in the full list, just let us know and we're happy to provide it. But in terms of top occupations, we see the first one is healthcare. Think of registered nurses or medical and health services. In general, healthcare is, there's a lot of demand for it because we're aging, we're having less kids. So we need healthcare and we need healthcare providers. So this is always something we see that employers are looking for. Another thing is software developers, data scientists, and analysts. That's something we typically see in job postings. And think about how we're living in the AI world. In order for you to create an AI ecosystem, typically you need a software developer and data scientist part of that ecosystem. Another thing we see is retail salespersons and supervisors. Retail is a big industry in New Jersey, and we see demand for it. Another one is truck drivers and warehousing and movers. It's not a surprise for us to see that this industry, there's demand for it because we are a distribution hub. First, we're wealthy consumers. We also have access to 100 million US consumers within a day's drive. So there are a lot of reasons why it makes us a hub for the warehousing and transportation industry. Lastly, I'll mention today management is a big thing for us, and you'll see when I talk about in other slides, you'll see that management is very important in New Jersey and in the US in general. In fact, there was an article in The Economist a couple of years ago talking about how the US is considered to be the gold standard when it comes to management. And to give you a simple example, in some countries, you cannot have an intellectual debate about an idea. That's not allowed. The manager comes and tells an employee what to do, and they have to do it. In the US, there's more of intellectual debate, intellectual curiosity, collective intelligence. All people come together and can build an idea, a product, a service. In some countries, that's not allowed. And hence, one of the arguments of The Economist was that's why we are the gold standard when it comes to management. The next thing we wanted to highlight is software skills employers are looking for. And one thing we see that is across industries, across occupations, is Microsoft Suite. Think of Excel, for example, PowerPoint. These are typically skills that employers are looking for that their employees know. Another important thing to note is Microsoft, especially if you have Outlook 365, now it allows you to access some AI capabilities. So think of, if you ever used it, you'll have access to Copilot. The same thing I gave you the link for the survey. So as you're taking the survey, the system is calculating your response and it's recommending which charts to put them in and putting it in the charts for me rather than me doing all that work. So as Microsoft will continue to develop its AI capabilities, this will mean that small businesses who cannot create their AI ecosystem will have the opportunity to access capabilities, advanced capabilities through Microsoft, which could indicate to us that in the future, AI-related terms and job postings might grow, which I'll show you some statistics shortly about that. Another thing we see that companies are looking for SQL or Python or R in general programming languages, because companies are collecting so much data about their customers, and we are giving up so much data. Think of watches, think of your computer, your cell phone, your camera. We're always giving up data. So what companies want to do is take this massive amount of data and then find ways to clean it, organize it, and find patterns so they can either put us in clusters or individually, and then customize their services and products based on how our behavior is, based on what we're clicking on. So think of going to Instagram or Facebook. Whatever you're clicking or liking, Meta is taking that information and then recommending for you to buy stuff. So programming language is becoming an important thing when we look at job posting, which leads us to the third bullet point, which is dashboards such as Tableau. So taking all that information, visualizing it in a quick way so companies can take insights, can make insights out of it, is something that we see employers are looking for. SAP is Systems Application Products. It's basically a software that allows various departments to communicate with each other. Think of HR, think of supply chain. They can all communicate with each other at one location. Salesforce is customer relationship management, is another thing that we see employers are looking for. Here we include for you soft skills employers are looking for. This is one of those very important slides in our presentation, because every time we talk to employers, they tell us we can teach people technical skills, but it's harder to teach soft skills. And among the top skills we see is communication, problem solving, presentation, customer service, and detail oriented. So what they're looking for people to be able to communicate, talk to each other, and not only write well, speak well, but show that they can start a project and finish it, being able to look at a problem and find solutions, being able to then articulate that information to an audience that is technical and non-technical, and being able to do it with being skilled at customer service, being skilled at dealing with internal and external stakeholders, and doing all of that in a detail-oriented way. Employers constantly look for employees who can do their articulation of various projects and initiatives with these skills in mind. Here we highlight for you top companies that post in New Jersey, and we highlight various industries just to show you how much we're diverse in terms of our industries and occupations in New Jersey. The first one is Hackensack Meridian Health, which is healthcare, Amazon, tech company, Rutgers University Education, JP Morgan Chase is finance, and Johnson & Johnson is pharmaceutical. Now we have a special look on AI job postings for you today. We know AI is a big word, so we started looking at it and started trying to understand what's happening. And in order for us to measure what's happening, the best data set is the job postings, because it's real-time data that we can measure what's happening in terms of jobs. And the way we do it is we look at 400 AI-related terms, such as autonomous systems, artificial intelligence, of course, natural language processing, and other terms. And if we find at least one AI-related term, we consider this to be an AI job posting. So to show you a few statistics about it, here's the total job postings with AI-related skills, and we do 2018 to 2025, and the numbers are in thousands. And you could see, I mentioned that 20% of the jobs typically are AI-related, includes AI-related skills, and we see that in the numbers. So 1 million, about 200,000 or so mention an AI-related skill, at least one of them, one or more. And now we look at the occupations that mention AI-related skills, and we see a similar trend that we've seen before, where we see software developers, which we mentioned in a few slides back. Project management is another area. Management analyst, marketing analyst is another one that looks for AI, that includes AI-related skills. And then finally, we'll mention for today's database administrators and database architects. And these type of positions tend to be part of the AI ecosystem. So the books that I've read mention, for example, software developers, mention a manager that can lead the whole project together, and even mention marketing manager who can translate certain systems to either customers or stakeholders or vendors and other related stakeholders. So what top companies we see here that post jobs that include AI-related skills, also diverse, similar to what we've seen before, like JP Morgan Chase, Johnson & Johnson, Bristol Myers Squibb, Verizon Communications, and Merck & Company. The last thing we wanted to mention when we look at the AI job postings is a median hourly advertised salary, and we cover the same time from 2018 to 2025. We highlighted in dark green AI job postings, and again, the way we look at AI job postings is if it mentions an AI-related skill. So that's highlighted in dark green. In light green, all job postings. And what's neat about this, you could see that when we look at AI job postings versus all job postings, AI tend to pay more. And the reason we decided to look into this, because there was a study that came out that said that they see two trends. One, that more job postings are mentioning AI-related skills, and two, they pay more. And we want to see if that is true for New Jersey, and indeed, we see that similar trend. So for example, in 2018, AI job postings paid a median hourly advertised salary of $45. All job postings paid $22. Moving forward to 2025, we see that the number goes up to $55 versus $32. So it confirmed that if somebody wants to, first, it confirmed that the AI job postings pay more. And if people are looking to make more money, maybe AI could be one of those avenues. I did want to pause before I go to the last section, which is occupational projections, to see if there are any questions or any comments.
I do have two questions that came in through the Q&A box, and I will ask it slowly so you can have a drink of your water. Going back, you were talking about, I think, some of those like fake job postings or maybe not quite real. Someone was asking, is DOL able to factor the existence of fake job postings into its statistics about available jobs?
So the job posting data comes from Lightcast, and Lightcast is a vendor that we actually solicit their services. And I'm actually meeting with them to talk about how do they take into consideration fake job postings. But one way that they do it is they look at the links. The links have to be active, but we are in talk with them just about this. There was a study that recently I listened to in a presentation where they said that 26% of jobs could be what they called ghost jobs, fake postings. In this case, we want to investigate this further, but even if we shave the 20 or 30%, we still continue to see a high number of job postings in New Jersey. We're talking about 700 to 800,000 jobs. And a lot of those links, actually, they're fake. So there's a way to identify fake jobs, but it is a very tedious job because you're looking at sometimes each posting to identify this. But we are meeting with the vendor to learn more about this and how they take it into consideration. Excellent job. Excellent question.
Yeah, wonderful. And there is another one. Do you have any data on the increase or decrease of available entry-level jobs? Thinking of recent college grad jobs.
Yeah, we do. I actually, about a month ago, did a similar presentation to Rutgers students, two different classes, and specifically focusing on entry-level jobs. So if anybody's interested, please reach out to me. So I'm happy to share that information. We also have 7 analysts that will answer questions like this. So just feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to give you the data and connect you with our representatives that work on stuff like this. And we have a question in the chat. Are we expecting a lot of jobs at New Jersey from Netflix soon? There is an expectation that Netflix will bring a lot of jobs to New Jersey and well-paying jobs. If I remember correctly, I'll have to look at the number, but I believe it was, I want to say 2,000 or 3,000, but I don't have the number in front of me, but happy again to provide that number. But there is an expectation that will increase the number of jobs. And Netflix is not the only one. There are other companies that are coming to New Jersey that will help increase the number of jobs. And partly is because we provide tax credits. The film industry gets good tax credits from us, so we're attracting various companies here. Anybody else? Okay. So we'll dive into the last section, which is occupational projections, and we'll give you kind of the high level. In New Jersey, we have over 500 occupations. Happy again to provide the list. But here's New Jersey's employment projections. In blue is actual numbers, so actual jobs in 2022. In red is projected, so projected jobs in 2032 we highlight in red. So what we want to show you here, a couple of trends that we've seen before in the job postings we see in our projections. And our projections are based on historical patterns. But just to show you, the first one, operations analyst, is a big one, which we mentioned before, such as operations research analyst, market research analyst. Another one is managers, which we talked about how we are considered to be the gold standard for managers, such as medical and health services managers, computer and information managers, management analysts, which we mentioned that was part of the top 5 for AI-related skills, financial managers, and general and operations managers. So the previous chart showed us in terms of number of jobs. Here we look in terms of the percentage, and we see a similar trend. For example, we see again operations research analysts and data scientists, which we mentioned in the job postings that data scientist also is part of the top occupations we see that employers are seeking. Another thing, managers again come up, like medical and health services managers and financial managers. And lastly, I'll highlight for tonight, which we talked about before, transportation, storage and distribution managers. We are a distribution hub, and we see that through various data sets. And the reason we look at so many indicators, we never want to look at one indicator and say it tells us the whole story. We want to look at various indicators and say, what are these indicators telling us, to make sure that all of them are pointing to a similar pattern or a signal. And if not, we want to see why. What are we missing? Or maybe there's different methodology or showing us something. But so far, we're seeing similar patterns across various data sets. So I did get a question in the chat. What are good websites to look for local jobs at Mercer? I did provide a few links to Nora. Nora, I don't know if you have the chance to maybe drop the training and the My Career NJ. And I can send other ones to Nora as well. Another question is, are the job offers we receive from our text phone reliable or a scam? Thank you. Nora dropped My Career NJ. Take a look at that one. The problem with job offers through your text, typically they're as far as I know, there are scams. I get them all the time, like come do part-time or remote work. I just don't click on them. If somebody is not, it's easy to access and send you a phishing link or phishing information, I wouldn't recommend it personally. But always research beyond the text and look into things, because everything is online, especially if you're looking for an office job. But we do have services if anybody's interested, for job seekers, for businesses. Just reach out and we're happy to help you. And Nora is dropping various links. Thank you, Nora. The last slide for today, here we highlight one more question. What are the best places, website to look for side hustle, temporary job opportunities? I'll have to look into that, if there's like a special one for side jobs or gig jobs.
I'll follow up with some resources via email as well to all of our attendees.
Thank you, Nora. Here is the, and please keep putting comments and questions. We'll follow up afterwards. So here we're going to end on the top 10 STEM employment in New Jersey. You could see the first column shows us the occupation. The second column shows us 2022 actual job numbers, then the projected for 2032, and then the change in terms of number and percent. And you can see, we've mentioned this before: software developers, operations research analysts, data scientists, medical scientists, we see a new one, computer occupations, which we've mentioned before. We see that various things come up over and over again as we look at employment growth. Here we highlight the STEM employment. We are now working on updating this data set, where we will have projections from 2024 to 2034, which hopefully when we have it, I will share it with you. Jobs and education in the States. Yeah, that could be a gig work. Is it still a good place to look for jobs in the classified ads of the newspapers? I would think so, but again, I would research and make sure that they're a legitimate company and organization. But just to do the takeaways, as I will watch the chat, and if we get other questions. Oh, I see one in the Q&A.
The Q&A, we have a plug for the PSG meeting, which is the professional services group, which meets twice a month here at the Princeton Public Library, and twice a month at the Plainsboro Public Library. Their next session is for people attending today, is the 19th of December, is their networking gathering, and there's usually a presentation. There's opportunities for networking, career coaches, job coaches, to answer some of these other more targeted job-seeking questions. We'll encourage people to join us there.
Yeah. Excellent, thank you. There's a question: how would AI affect accountants' work opportunities? When I've done the presentation for Rutgers, we saw that accountants, there are AI-related terms or AI-related skills that are mentioned in job postings. So I think what I recommended, based on the statistics we've seen, is each occupation will have some type of AI capability, and I would recommend learning it and improving that skill to make sure that the person is moving with the technology train and keeping up with the changes that are happening on the ground. But I could specifically look at job postings for accounting and send you that data and what we're seeing if you're interested. And another question we got: is it still a great idea to mail resume in the company you like? I haven't seen mailing as a big thing. I know email is the big one. especially for office jobs. But again, Nora said there's a group that can help you that can help you with that, and Nora can provide more information about this. Absolutely, Helen. There's Carol put, I'm concerned that you're using historical patterns to project job growth. It seems to me that AI will be providing the services, example, market research, financial analysis, that recent college grads would have found available. I think Carol and Nora, go ahead. Were you typing something?
Oh, no, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, just want to make sure. Thank you. So it is true, Carol, that when we look at the historical pattern, typically we don't have the AI that we see today. Since November 2022, we have access to AI capabilities like large language models like ChatGPT and Copilot, which wasn't available to all of us to the degree we see today. What I want to say a couple of things. One is, while the AI is around, jobs we continue to add jobs. With that being said, AI will probably replace certain jobs. We just don't know what yet. There are studies that came out and said that we see changes for writers, for example, that now I can have myself proofread by ChatGPT. Coders is another area where you could code using a large language model. So there are certainly changes to the makeup of the occupation in terms of what type of skills we need to know to be successful in this occupation. But certainly the historical patterns will miss certain AI capabilities, but we should be able to see it now as we're doing the new round. That's one, too, is a reason. That's why we do the job postings, because it shows us real-time data. And we can look at that and try to see what employers are telling us that is important to them. And think of this, 95% of employers are small. So for them to build an AI ecosystem like Amazon, for example, is challenging in terms of having the capacity to do it, having the resources to do it. But I think the recent struggles of college graduates, and they can't find jobs up to, if you think about it, this year, we were adding jobs and the labor market was doing well. What I think happened is the economic uncertainty that is making businesses concerned about, do I hire people while I'm dealing with a lot of uncertainty and policy uncertainty? And another thing is, employers hoarded employees during the pandemic. So they have not enough employees is not the right word, but they have hoarded enough employees that additional hiring is not as needed as before. But we shall see, you make an excellent comment. We shall see in the coming months and years how AI will translate into the economy. It's very, very difficult because it's such a good comment and it's hard to say one way or the other. Thank you for that. So somebody wrote, does Amazon have local recruiting offices around New Jersey? I am not sure about that, but again, happy to connect with you and see if we have any information about that. We do have business representatives that could help you, and Nora could help with that as well. So just to conclude and do the takeaways, and I'll try to watch the chat. So labor demand has cooled, but remains elevated by historical standards. I have mentioned that we are above the February 2020 levels by almost 180,000 jobs. AI-related skills are becoming embedded across occupations and not just tech. We see that across occupations, across industries where they're mentioning AI-related skill. Future growth is concentrated in various occupations. For here, we mentioned STEM, analytics, and management roles, and we talk about software developers and data-driven occupations. But also, I would add, think of healthcare is a big area for us, even finance. But what we did today is we gave you the top occupations, but there are other ones that we couldn't mention because the list is long. And employers continue to value both technical and human skills. Soft skills is a big area for us. A couple of things I want to mention. Here is our publications that I talked about, and just to highlight a few of them, we just released Labor Market Spotlight, which we do a 2-pager on a group within our community, a policy and industry, and we did one on New Jersey in honor of, on veterans in honor of Veterans Month. We also do the New Jersey employment situation, which I've shown you some figures from that. So hopefully that was helpful. And lastly, I want to mention is the Fortune 500 companies that we've done, which we were the first state to take administrative records and measure the economic footprint of Fortune 500 in New Jersey, and we won a national award for it. So very proud of the team, of our team, for doing that. But this is the type of stuff we do, and we send an email or two to our list to highlight what we're doing. We have another one, and I think Nora might be able to answer this. Does the library offer AI classes we can attend? Yes, we've offered multiple programs on various aspects. Laura, would you like to talk about this a little bit?
Sure. We have offered, again, multiple programs. I'm sure we will continue to add them. We've had presentations on sort of AI, actually multiples for AI for job seekers, and also like how employers are using AI, as well as AI for small business. And then we've had some, again, more tech specific classes. So I can point you to resources for those. We may have some recordings on our YouTube channel. I don't know if we have tons on AI specifically there, but several of the presentations were with PSG, the job seeker group that we mentioned earlier, and those slides are available on PSG's website. So I will send that information out as well following the presentation on how to find that information and how to look ahead at our upcoming programs as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Nora. And the last thing I want to say, if you want to join our mailing list, you just have to go to the QR code and put your name, last name, and link. And we have a link. And we also have, if you have any feedback on this presentation, we have a QR code. We love to hear your feedback. If not today, hopefully when Nora sends us stuff, what you liked, where areas of improvement, or what you would have liked to see for us to do next time if you have any feedback. With that being said, I'm going to go to my last slide. And thank you for having me, Nora. Thank you for inviting me. It's such a pleasure. It's my email, my LinkedIn. We have our office dog that we love to include her on the slide. And then thank you, everybody. Here's also the feedback if anybody would like to take it. Nora?
Thank you so much for all of this. This was really excellent information, a lot to chew on. I know we've had a lot of great questions from the crowd. Again, as you see here, Dr. Nicola has made her information accessible. We will send out, again, following the presentation to anyone who registered, the links that we posted in the chat, some additional information. You can feel free to follow up with me if you have library-specific questions, or with the Department of Labor for their resources. It sounds like they have a report or a data set for pretty much anything you can think of, and they are happy to share it with you, which is wonderful. So we will look forward to additional reporting from DOL. It's great that you have that email list so people can keep up with these industry information, which sounds fascinating. I'm joining your email list now, actually. But again, we will follow up with everyone if there are any other questions. But please do feel free to, again, reach out to DOL to check out their website, to look through those reports, to get more information to help you in your plans for next year and for the future. Thank you again so much for your time, for all of this great information, and for, of course, sharing the dog at the end, which is the real gift.
That's right. That's right. Thank you. Thank you for having me again.
Thank you. All right, have a great night all, and thank you so much.
Bye-bye.